Hello and welcome to this level 3 video. My name is Allie with A. Marie Speaks, and this is video 3 of 3 within level 3. And we are going to be focusing on the spirit, this third portion of our layering, right? What it is that makes each of us up. That's the more intangible, undescribable, kind of unspeakable impulses, sensations, transactions within the system are happening and do happen within this layer. If you're new here, this series, my energetic system series, has already grown through levels 1, 2, and into 3 now, and we've already discussed sort of what a system is, the fact that it is really energetic transactions. That's all that a system is about and is doing, right? Or like the basis of it. But that also we have to look at, well, what is created, what has created the system, right? And we've talked a bit about the role of the observer, creator consciousness, and how this universe is infinite intelligence seeking out to play and display manyness. Every finite piece within infinity attempting to explore and discover itself on this crazy journey back to oneness. And so every system displays that same purpose and is seeking that same end destination. It's all about how it gets there, the different types of energies it works with, the ways it works with energy that define its purpose and function. But all systems kind of work within the same model. And we talked a lot about that in level 1 and bringing it into level 3 as well, because we're looking just at the inner systems, right, for level 3. But they all follow the same model, this triad layering that we can look at and dissect them with and interpret their transactions through. It's helpful to organize things and to see things and understand that infinite intelligence is at work here. There is this intelligent design mechanism through organic life, through the whole flow of the ether and of all of creator consciousness and every sort of spectrum of life that it explores. There's purpose and function in everything, right? There's meaning and design. Mathematics in itself tells us they didn't just fall together sporadically, right? Anyways, all systems, right, are built up of these 3 parts, which can be looked at as external processes, internal processes, and then the co-communication and creation of what those 2 workings are able to do together and how they co-communicate and what they then display as the whole, right? Because all 3 sort of come together to make this whole presentation. And I also did a comparison of how these 3, external, internal, and the flow between, can really be seen through the display of the work of the torus. And we talked about the toroidal external in level 2, we talked about the magnetic inner core, and as well as the Mobius flow, the lemniscatic, eternal figure 8 kind of processing that is observed, or that all energy is sort of moved through. And in reflection, that external, internal, and flow becomes easily seen through the filter of mind, body, and spirit, and through these same themes, right, of actionary and external and masculine and directional, and internal, feminine, emotional, and really driven by sort of information and processing that and making purpose and meaning within the actions of the outside, right? And then we have the 3rd part, which is this unpin-downable kind of Mobius flow, this always moving spirit that is more astral, more connected to higher frequencies and densities, and it has this cymatic sort of resonance, this it's really the motion. It really is, you know, it's the blinking, it's the on and the off, the lemniscatic, that is works on that layer of the spirit layer, or the flow, right, of the Mobius flow layer when I talked about the torus. So yes, just as little kind of bits in case people are new. There's tons of more videos where I go into really descriptive depth on all aspects of that and of the torus and of you as a system and stuff. So if you've missed those videos, links in below are definitely available, or you can find them on my channel in my energetic systems playlist. But like I've said, this is the video 3 of 3 that I really wanted to just introduce and give people a quick view, a little snapshot, introduction to that layer of themselves. And to see what that is, to understand there's a boss and managers under that, and underneath the managers become workers, and that everything, all of those layers are sort of worlds and parameters all of their own, and that we can use creator consciousness of ourself, this first person view, and meditation to zoom in through the lenses and get in contact and hear and have conversations with those bosses and managers and workers, and allow our imagination and visualization, all of these wonderful magical gifts we're given as humans, right, to create and explore those conversations and to allow them to really be a co-communication, right? Give and take, listening and hearing, and then speaking as well. So within this sort of introduction to the systems within, we have looked at the body, and that was the first and sort of most tangible, most obvious section of us that we've introduced and talked about. And then we talked about the mind and how that's sort of your inner world and your inner processes. And now for the spirit, it's important for us to understand that, like I talked about a bit with the mind, right, video, these 3 layers of us that make us up, they're sort of like the major bosses, and they should be sitting together at this sort of table, like a triangular table, I guess, because they're 3, right? And they're all equal in their setting and in their placement. They all are heads of their table, and they come together to make up you. And after, we'll get into more of that resonance after, but it's important to see the 3 for what they are before you can see how they build a resonance together, right? So when I talked about the mind, I said it's kind of common in our world and in the matrix kind of place setting we're all birthed into here, in the now, that we have the mind sort of placed on this pillar above all the others with the brain, and it's sort of tagged together as this one entity that makes everything happen. And without that, everything else doesn't work, and there's no use to you. And just because of this one spark that is in there that's making these firings do it, that's you. And when this spark is gone, you're gone. And that's one way to look at life, and I can't hate on perspectives. You know, I value every individual input into the spectrum of possibilities. But for me, that doesn't resonate truth. I feel a lot of ripples of distortion when I hear that, and when I go inwards and feed that to all of my bosses, right? I see them on a pillar, and we have to knock the ego out a little bit to understand that that is a manipulation that holds no value to us as an individual, as me as first person view Allie, because it's self-harming to place one above the other and to put this manager of hierarchy to grab a negative structure of the 3D matrix and implant it and imprint it into your being and say that's how it is. It's a perspective that we choose, and you have to understand that as well. And this is what I want to talk about more with the spirit, and this whole level of sovereignty is really what I'm going to bring in when we talk about the spirit, right? This responsibility to your truth, to your faith, to your rightness to be alive and explore what it means to be alive. that being, that spirit boss, really has been kind of told in the mainstream by the brain's boss that it doesn't matter. It's a figment of imagination. It's made up. It's not as important. When this boss is gone, that one would be gone because this boss has made that boss up. And like I said, that's a perspective. You can look at a triangle in 2D and choose to see it in an upright hierarchy and directional flow of energy, forced figure. Or you can tilt it on its horizontal and create it as a flat plane for everybody to be a part of and to be on the same level, on the same value, and to understand that there's just different directions that you are modeled for, that you're in your placement are designated to explore and define. That's your right, and your piece. And that each one, like each three comes together to create the shape, each boss comes together and has its own value and worth, and they're all the same. So the mainstream really wants to cut everybody out, and they've worked really hard to do that, and for different reasons. And we'll talk a bit about that manipulation and the disassociation of the different bosses once we get more into what the whole value, you as a whole, and bring it back. And we talk about alignment and polarity and charge and stuff. But yeah, this spirit boss here, I want to try to stay focused and get into how it can be very quiet, it can be very intermingled and confused and leashed by the brain boss. And so perhaps it might take a while for you to just explore that, even ideas. Just get yourself familiar with the sensations that are you leashing out your imagination. Are you self-constraining yourself, contorting your intuition and your spirit, your soul, into this kind of uncomfortable box, just because your brain and mind has these thoughts and mechanisms that are telling you to do that. Through the work with the boss of the mind, you'll learn to know what's your thoughts and what aren't your thoughts, and your body will give impulses because it is wonderful at sensing what is really coming in and out, because it is that sensory bounder with the ether and with you. So it can really tell you, oh, that's outcoming or incoming data. But your mind boss will be, if you've over exaggerated it, right? It'll tell your body, no, you're wrong. That's not true. That's not right, But we have to remember, when we get into touch, we will know, oh wait, no, we value the body's input information. It is important. Yes, it is incoming. It isn't really our thought. And your spirit will also speak and say, yeah, no, that resonance isn't ours. I don't align with that. That's not for my highest good. Let that go. It will say, it will be able to breathe through and help you release. Because like I talked about with the mind is the processor. It tells everything where to get stored or how not to be stored. But it needs support. It needs the fluid motion to make those things happen. Just like a teacher can tell all the kids in the class to do directions, but it's up to each kid in the class to hear those directions, to follow them, to want to actually do them. Maybe they don't and they just sit there like that. This is in the realm of possibilities of inside of you. So when you start to think at that more dissected level within yourself, these miscommunications with the layers and bosses will become more apparent, right? And when your mind wants to let something go, your spirit will offer more energy to clear and cleanse. You will know how to let go within you instead of storing it and allowing it to stagnate and rot or fester. So yeah, first and foremost, of course, is just trying to learn and separate out into what spirit feels like for you, what that layer of you feels like. And that can feel like intuition, imagination, synchronicities, coincidences, right? Unexplained little things that mean something just personally to you. If anybody else heard it, it wouldn't have that resonance, right? There are these things out there that they tag a little heartstring, like when they pluck out there, and it causes a flush of memory. It causes this yank on the fishing line or your anchor, right? It really feels like it hit the ground. It knows that spot, right? Those things are there for you. That's your spirit. That's the conversations. Listen to those and respect them, and you'll hear more of them. And also, just want to add in a quick other air of caution. Same thing with the Minds Boss that I really promoted. I almost forgot to do this in the Body Talks, but we can go back to that after. There does become a significant risk of over-amplification of the Spirit Boss. Just like there can be an over-amplification of the Minds Boss. It's more common in our settings out there right now to be overflow of mind or body, because those are really controllable, and they're way more beneficial to the structuring and negative agenda of the 3D, right? But the outskirts of that negative agenda needs to collect outliers and reflect them back in, right? And so we have all of these sort of, what do they call them? Sponsored kind of controlled opposition types that are almost promoting the real contrasts. You know, they look like the outliers. They look and will reflect the same conversations, sort of the 5D spirit realm, new age, wakey up kind of people, over woke, do-gooder types, or even maybe not just social do-gooders, but also those people who are addicted to self-help, right? Those kind of more aligned to direct service to the self. More obvious, like egotistical types. So they do have a good play out there in on the fringe, where they're trying to corral others and get a control of those out there by feeding them these sort of more convenient, negatively aligned pieces of cake that the whole body of it is negative, but it has like this pink fluffy frosting that you think is like service to others and positively aligned. And so you get tricked into eating the whole thing. But the truth and the basis of it is that it's modeled and it's built out of the matrix. It has 3D, 3D negative alignment at its structuring. And so you're really not waking up when you're doing that, right? You're really not doing yourself any service. Honest, transparent service of unconditional love to yourself, the creator that you are a reflection of, all others who are directly around you, people who love you and care about you, people who you interact with, and the others that you don't even know, right? The great other, all others. This is what we have to really align with and have to keep ourselves in check with, whether we're doing that or not. Because when we look into each of these systems and we dive into the spirit as a whole, we have to remember that there is light and dark to that. Just like there's light and dark reflected in all aspects. Just like the Taurus tool is a neutrality. It's just an image of working. It can be running positively or running negatively. It's not a still frame. It's doing something. It's collecting a charge. It's processing energy in one way or another. Because we live in a playscape of duality, right? So every body that we're within, the body, the mind, and the spirit, each one of those holds a resonance, holds an image of itself, and that image has the capacity of duality, contrast within it. And so within the spirit, we have light and shadow sides of it, of how we can run that system. And especially with the spirit, because the spirit reflects the Mobius flow. It does both jobs. It does negative processing and it does positive processing. It's not either or, it's both. And so it has unique conversations with both the external and the internal flow and those whole bodies. And it's sharing information and working through them. And so the spirit, right, just to quickly really focus on that before I close the video out. We have the main boss, and like I said, maybe you need to really just identify that for yourself for a while and learn how to take them apart from the mind and get out of the logical processing, the firings, the sort of autonomic, regulated brain functions that really are part of the brain and the mind. And learn what it feels like to get into imagination space and the creation. And this goes through the heart center, because that is sort of the layering that is gets you through higher dimensions, gets you to higher frequencies, is the portal, and it's at the 0 point of view, right? And it's really at the heart of things, and that's the door through to the spirit boss. If you notice you're in here in the brain,